Well, really, his family and friends were the ones who were cheated. COVID and the pandemic have caused so much grief and upheaval for so many families. It's hard not to be a little resentful. But if there's one thing I learned from my father, it's that you can't really plan your life. That is, you can plan things, but don't be surprised when things don't all go your way. And then accept what you get and move on. As the old saying goes, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So do your best to live a good life, but then accept the reality of whatever hand you're dealt. That doesn't mean you can't mourn. You have to mourn, but don't let it destroy all the good in your life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to the beginning. Francis Anthony Fragola Sr., or if you prefer the name on his birth certificate, Francesco Alfonso Fragola, was born shortly after the start of the Great Depression. He said he was born on a Thursday, which he claimed to remember because they had fish for dinner the next night. Yeah, cornball dad humor. He had a million of them. No, not really. He had about 8 or 10. And we all knew them. Ask any of his kids about his 2 knock-knock jokes or his alternate song lyrics. He also liked to go by his alter ego name, Narf Alugarth. You can ask us about that later, too. Dad grew up during the Depression in a close-knit Italian-American family, where he learned his strong values of family, hard work, and integrity. I am fortunate to remember both of his parents, and I believe his father provided his more serious, industrious side. Do your best and provide for your family, the most basic and important things in life. And I think he got his fun-loving side from his mother, whom I always remember as smiling. And of course, she gave him that same appreciation of family. Family dinners, family events with lots of singing and dancing. That's not to say that Dad was a good singer, but that didn't stop him. His attitude was, who cares what it sounds like? That's everybody else's problem. And I say that with pride because, as many of you know, I have that same attitude and that same singing talent. Growing up in West Haven, not far from the beach, Dad was a rock rat, one of those lucky kids who got to hang out with his friends at Savin Rock. He spoke fondly of those days, the beach, the rides, friends with funny nicknames, and the hot dogs at Jimmy's. Nothing beats Jimmy's hot dogs. Well, except maybe New Haven pizza. I won't go on about that. But that's another thing that Dad passed on to me and all his kids, a love of food. I know I keep going off on tangents, but I can only be so chronological when talking about some part of his life before I get sidetracked and start talking about something else. So bear with me, please. Dad graduated from West Haven High School when he was barely 17, and I'm not sure about exact dates, but at some point after that, he joined the United States Army. After serving his country, he worked his way through college and became an electrical engineer. I remember when he achieved the status of professional engineer when I was young. I remember it because we celebrated with a cake. In the middle of all that, he met my mother, Marion. They got married and moved to North Haven, and they had 5 kids. 5 kids who all take after him in a number of ways. Most of us look like him. I think we all got his brain. And I don't mean intelligence, although we have some of that. I mean the ability to remember trivia, weird facts that most people don't remember or even care to remember. And here's the really lowbrow part. Our specialty is old TV shows, especially sitcoms. I know some of you might think, oh my God, what a waste of good brain cells. But I prefer to think of it as just a sign of some kind of intelligence, and it was also a way that we connected with our father. Time to go off on another tangent. I've already mentioned that Dad liked food, and I also told you that he was Italian American, and it is true that Italians speak with their hands. Also, he was sort of a cook wannabe. Later in life, he got to do a lot of cooking, but at the time of this story, he mostly watched the cook and ate the food. Anyway, my mother told me this story one time that just cracked me up. It was sometime after I had moved out, but all the other kids still lived there. He had gone out to dinner for work, I guess, and Mom had stayed home. When he came in, she asked him how dinner was. I need my hands. And he told her it was good. He said, it was good. We had chicken cutlet parmesan. And she kind of laughed at that. And then somebody else came in a little later, asked him how the dinner was. Oh, it was good. We had chicken cutlet parmesan. And a little later, somebody else came in. I think it was the next day. How was that dinner? Good. We had chicken cutlet parmesan. Who even says chicken cutlet parmesan? but So he really was a frustrated Italian cook deep down. Anyway, I can't tell you how many band concerts and dance recitals Dad sat through in his life, or how many kids' sports he coached and or watched, or how many rides he gave to school dances and other activities. When he wasn't driving the girls to dancing school, he was helping Frank with a Cub Scout badge. Like I said, it was all about family. And then, far too early, he lost the love of his life. We lost Mom more than 21 years before losing Dad. She was only 67. And of course, if I could have given her more years, I would have. But something good did come from that loss. Dad stepped up. He had always let Mom do all the calling on the phone, arranging family events, and generally talking to the kids. She kept him informed, and he always knew what was going on in our lives, but he had let her handle all that touchy-feely stuff. But when she was gone, he started calling us just to see how things were going. He organized and hosted holidays and other family events, and he generally became much more in touch with his kids. He was also fortunate enough to get to know each and every grandchild, and he truly treasured his time with each of them. Dad was a very independent person. As he got older, just in his last year or so, he started to become pretty uncomfortable in his house, and I think we all worried that something would happen to make him lose that independence. It was time to get him some assistance without taking away his freedom, so we found a nice place where he'd have a lot of company and be safe. Then they even had daily happy hours there. Nobody could have predicted COVID-19, so for about 6 months he had a great situation with assisted living. Then at the end he was kind of miserable, but thankfully that was only for a very short time. In fact, that's another thing that went his way. COVID-19 took him quickly. He got pretty sick, but it ended abruptly. A shock for family and friends, but a blessing for him. Also, in probably his last 3 or 4 years, I had quite a few conversations with him in which he'd say how he was ready, even looking forward to seeing Marion again. It wasn't like he was depressed at all, but he was prepared, and he was content with his life. So I truly believe that he got to live his life on his terms, and even with the curveball thrown to him at the end, he pretty much got to be independent and comfortable until those last few days. So that's actually not a bad life story. 90 years of being a good person, loving your family, and having a good life until the end. I miss him, but I'm happy for him. So I'd like to close with 2 requests, because I know Dad would want me to make you smile at the end. First, every once in a while, try singing like Frank. That is, don't even try to be good. Just make it fun and loud. If you need one of us kids to show you how to do it or suggest some fitting songs, ask us later. Second request. Remember how I said we all like TV trivia? Well, I want all of you to do this. When you go home, go to YouTube or Google or whatever, and find The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Season 6, Episode 7, which is titled Chuckles Bites the Dust. Watch that whole episode. That way you'll understand what I'm about to say. Do you want to join? A little song, a little dance, a little seltzer down your pants. Yes, I do feel very silly saying that. But if my parents are listening, that is if they're not too busy at Heaven's version of Mohegan Sun or Teletrack, I'm sure they're smiling down on us. And Dad is also hating that he's missing this. So, that's all from me.